Chapter 9, in which Tom concludes that vinegar never catches flies. For the ensuing 2 or 3 weeks, the current of events at college flowed on with scarcely a ripple. Every day, Tom seemed to gain new friends. Indeed, with the exception of John Green, he had not a single enemy among his playmates, and even Green's enmity had grown less demonstrative. As a fit preparation for his first communion, Tom had resolved to put himself at peace with the whole world. He now regretted that he had made a laughing-stock of Green on the occasion of their first meeting, and he was on the alert to do something towards closing the breach between them. A slight change in the routine of school life gave him the desired opportunity. Towards the end of October, it was found necessary to make some repairs in the western corner of the small boys' dormitory. In consequence, 17 of the students occupying beds in that part were assigned temporary accommodations in the attic of the main building, a structure towering high above all its fellows. It was Wednesday afternoon when Mr. Middleton announced the names of those who were to change their sleeping quarters. Tom, Harry Quip, Alexander Jones, John Pitch, Green, and others with whom our story has not to do, composed this privileged number. To add a zest to this privilege, he allowed the happy 17 to explore their improved dormitory immediately after class, and very quickly after class the brick buildings resounded to the tramp of multitudinous feet, scampering nimbly up the stairs as though on a mission of life and death. "Whoop-la!" cried Tom, as he burst into the great room, seamed and ribbed overhead with heavy beams. "It's like the attic of a haunted house, only bigger. Isn't it, Green?" "It's an immense place for fun," responded his companion. "Look at all the corners and hiding places. We can play I Spy here, if I don't feel sleepy." "Yes," assented Tom, "and at night we might climb out on the roof and count the stars. Did you ever count the stars, Johnny?" "Nah, did you?" "I tried it one night at home, when I was lying in bed and couldn't sleep. I got as far as 57, then I went off sound asleep. But there are lots more than 57. "I guess there's over 1,000,000,000,000, said Green reflectively. Both felt that their remarks had fairly exhausted their astronomical researches. "Come on," said Tom. "Let's get out on the roof." As he spoke, he pointed towards a ladder which led up to the cupola, rising 7 or 8 feet above the roof of the building. This cupola gave access to the roof by means of a small door, which opened at the side and was secured from within by a strong bolt. Followed by Tom, Green ran up the ladder, shot back the bolt, and made his way up on the roof. "I'd like to live on a roof," said Tom tranquilly, as he walked over to the eastern verge and gazed down upon the yard below. "Come back, you idiot!" cried Green in what he considered his most persuasive accents. "You'll get dizzy and kneel over." "I'll bet I won't," answered Tom. "Don't you think I've ever been up on a roof before? This one isn't steep like ours, but it's a heap higher. I say, how'd you like to stand on top of that lightning rod?" And Tom motioned with his index finger towards the tip of a rod which rose above the cupola. Green ran over, caught hold of the rod, and shook it. "I wouldn't like it at all unless I wanted to break my neck. It's loose. What'll you bet I can't pull it down?" "It isn't ours, Johnny." "I'd just as soon pull it down as not," continued Green. Nevertheless, he relinquished his hold upon it and turned away. Tom had occasion to remember this episode subsequently, though at the moment both he and Green dismissed the subject so lightly. Some 7 or 8 others now found their way up to the roof, and the conversation, made up in great part of oohs and ahs, had become quite general and very noisy when Mr. Middleton appeared and sternly ordered all down. Tom and Green were the first to descend, followed by others in Indian file. The last to re-enter shut the door behind him, but neglected to bolt it. The omission passed unnoticed. "I say, Mr. Middleton," observed Tom solemnly, "I thought you didn't believe in slang." "Indeed, I wouldn't advise people to use it in the ordinary." "Well, sir, you gave us bad example." "How?" "You told us to come off the roof, sir." And, satisfied with his little joke, Tom was about to hurry away when he was arrested by Mr. Middleton's voice. "Well, sir?" "You'll have to do penance for that joke, Tom. I want 4 or 5 willing boys to bring over pillows and bedding. The workmen will attend to beds and mattresses. You might get Quip and Donald to help you." "All right, sir, that'll be fun." As Tom spoke, he saw an eager look upon Green's face. "And I say, Mr. Middleton," he added, "can't Johnny Green help us? He's willing." "Of course," was the cordial answer, accompanied by a kindly look at Johnny. Poor Green. There was a real wholesome blush upon his face as he blurted forth some disjointed words of thanks. "Well," commented Mr. Middleton to himself as the lads went pattering down the stairs, "that Playfair has unconsciously taught me another lesson. I mustn't forget to notice the hard cases now and then. Unless I'm mistaken, Green will be in a better mood for a week." "He's a good fellow," Green observed as they went trotting across the yard. "Isn't he?" said Tom. "So are you," added Green, growing very red as he spoke. Tom laughed. He had succeeded. His only enemy was won over. Tom had brought a diary from home, having made a promise on receiving it to write something in it every day. That night at studies he opened it for the first time and made this his first entry. It happened to be his last also. October 30th. Since coming to college I have noticed that vinegar never catches flies. Today I am 11 years old. This year I am going to make my first communion. His name is Green. I don't believe there is anything near 1,000,000,000,000 stars.